Welcome back to another episode of Inspector Toolbelt Talk. I'm your host, Ian, and today we have on Kevin Maxwell from Maxwell Inspection Services. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really super glad that you're on the show. On one of our previous episodes, I was teasing Nick Gramico. I'm like, I keep trying to get Kevin on my show, but he's too busy. And now here you are.
I made it.
Yeah, I'm super happy. So, Kevin, I want everybody to know who you are. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, the name of, well, we already said the name of your inspection company, but anything you want us to know about.
Sure. So my name is Kevin Maxwell. I'm the owner of Maxwell Inspection Services. I'm out of Albany, New York. So basically kind of like capital region area of Albany. Most people don't know where Albany is, but it's basically kind of like the capital, you know what I mean? Kind of more the center. So I'm from here. And then at the same time, too, I'm a former building inspector / a code official for the city of Albany. I did that for a number of years. I got kind of bored of doing that. I wanted to basically start, traveling a little bit more. So, I started doing home inspections kind of on the side because my boss was doing it. And, I thought it was too much liability at first. And then my boss was like, it's not that bad. Just, come try it. I did like 1 or 2 home inspections. I loved it. And then after about like 6 months of kind of like marketing, I basically left my full-time job and became a home inspector.
Yeah, that's about the time that I met you. So for everybody listening, Kevin and I are in the same market. And I remember when he was a code official. And I'm like, dude, what you doing, man? Get on that home inspection train. So here he is. And you've done fantastic for yourself.
Thank you.
I've watched you start off from, okay, here's what a home inspection is to, hey, I'm running my part of the market now. This is going well.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And you had a new baby about 3 months ago.
I did.
Right?
Yep. His name's Zion.
Zion, that is awesome. So you have 2 kids. Yep. You have a nice little family going on there. Successful business, and you actually own some other businesses too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I have about 4 other different businesses. So what I noticed early on was home inspections is good, but I wanted to kind of branch out and do some other different ventures. So I have a mold business. It's called Albany Mold, or I don't know if I should be saying all the names, but I have a mold business. I have an asbestos business, and I also have a chimney business. So a couple of other different ventures. I'm kind of working on some other different things right now in the lab, just because I feel like, diversification is a very big thing. Even within the real estate market, you want to be diversified, and you don't want to just kind of like stay just in the home inspection realm. You want to be able to kind of offer everything. And there's some other different tips there that we'll probably jump into as well.
Yeah, and feel free to name all of your businesses, and we'll put links to all of them
Sure.
in the transcript of this podcast so everybody can learn about you. But I thought that was fantastic because not enough of us get out of what we call a vertical.
Sure.
So our vertical is a home inspection industry, but I've always said it sounds like a weird term, but it's a dead stop industry. You do the inspection and it's done. There's no revenue after that. There's nothing. But now you do a chimney service. I imagine you can do that, yearly. Mold business, that's revenue that comes after the inspection. Just everything can kind of build off of what you're already doing.
Exactly.
So you're expanding your vertical.
Yeah, I think doing that, but I also think the other side of it too is doing things outside of the real estate transaction. So a lot of times with my mold business, we'll do mold assessments or air testing or swab samples, basically, outside of the real estate transaction. So let's just say, if somebody says, they like a homeowner has a mold issue in their house. Basically, when they're looking us up, we're not popping up as basically, our main business, we're popping up as another business that specifically does that. You know what I mean? So basically what we're doing is we're kind of like because Maxwell Inspections is known for inspections, but my mold business is just known for mold. You know what I mean? So We're still getting business from the other different subcategories of the business, but we're doing it in a way where if a homeowner is sick and they can't breathe, they want to do air testing, then they might reach out. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways that you could do that too. The biggest thing about it is I think a lot of people are scared of is doing like the work behind it. So like the SEO or doing also like creating another website. You know what I mean? So that's a big thing that we're not afraid to do. So it's myself. And so my main business, Maxwell Inspections, is through myself 100%. And then I have my other businesses is basically partnerships through basically my partner, Adam Clark. He actually is a home inspector too, ShearGuard Home Inspections. You know what I mean? So it's easier for us to basically create these other different sub businesses and then, market it. He's really good with SEO. So he's pushing the SEO, and then we're still sucking in more business. You know what I mean, from those other businesses. So that's kind of like a little bit of something there too.
So that's a business model after my own heart. That's exactly kind of what I did, just in a couple of different directions than you did. And I love how you talk about websites and SEO, because obviously that's a subject close to my heart. Yeah. But man, I really want to unwrap this onion and see how many layers we have going on here, because this is great information for us. Because right now we have some good news on the horizon. We did a podcast a couple weeks ago. The market's starting to turn probably towards the spring, but maybe towards the end of the year it's not going to be so great, and we're still in a downturn market. You have made a success of a home inspection business and other verticals in a downturn market where other home inspection companies are going out of business, and in our own market. Again, we're in the same market. I can name quite a few inspection companies that are now just gone.
Yeah, and of course.
Yeah, but you've thrived. So I really want to get into that. Maybe we could take this onion one layer at a time. Yeah. So why did you start to market so hard? Like what was like? Not a lot of home inspectors try to ease into it, or like, let me do this one or that thing and try this. When you first got into the market, and especially now with the market downturn, you pushed like crazy hard, and there's like tons of avenues that you're doing.
Yeah. So I think for me, I've seen a lot of other inspectors within my industry. So basically, like, there's another inspection company, basically, he just sold his business, so he sold his business. Yeah. But like, that was somebody who I actually like, there's a couple of different people who I looked up to within the industry, like, yourself and, some other people around here locally. And I try to kind of say, okay, what are they doing? Right. Because some inspectors, they have 7 different licenses, but at the same time, they're not getting that much business. Right. Some inspecting companies, they're really good at marketing kind of like, their business, but they only just do home inspections. So for me, my thought was, okay, how can I market my business? Right. And which I did. And I started getting a lot of inspections. And I remember before I told you at one point in time, sometimes I would do 4 a day, and which is crazy. I don't do that anymore. But like I had a driver, you know what I mean? So I had a driver. I was doing reports in the back seat. I did that. And for me, I got to the point where I said to myself, okay, after a while, it wasn't sustainable. And for me, it was more in the sense of the fact of me scaling up. And then how do I scale up and maintain quality, but also have another way to attract business coming in? So I think for me, the first thing I did is I wanted to be a very well-known name. So I did that. So I marketed heavy on, social media. I marketed heavy on Google. I marketed heavy everywhere. After I became well-known, then for me, what I did was I started, doing a lot of inspections, burning myself out. And I started hiring people, so I became a multi-inspector firm pretty early. I'm 6 years in now. I became a multi-inspector firm basically 3 years in, so I did that. And then as I scaled up, what I wanted to do was, so last year, basically kind of the height of, COVID, probably 2 years ago, but last year around that time, I had 5 employees. So I had 3 inspectors and 2 techs. So basically 3 of my inspectors, and that's including myself, they basically would be doing inspections, right? They'd be doing inspections as well as like mold and things like that. But then my techs, they would be doing like chimney inspections, chimney cleanings, septics, at the same time too, like pool inspections, all those different things. I stepped back pretty heavy so I could kind of really build everything out. You know what I mean? So I was doing all the research, all the different trainings, looking for the tools, looking for the right classes, looking to make sure the legal was intact. You know what I mean? So I basically started doing that, which I scaled up. And then and feel free if you want to stop me.
No, I'm loving it.
But yeah, so I built everything out. And, sometimes we would do 20 inspections a week, maybe even 25. And the crazy part about it was I seen the revenue jump up a lot higher because we might do a septic for $500. You know what I mean? And then, at that point we were so busy. And then I think I would say probably when last year hit, obviously the market contracted pretty heavy. At that time, we had to make some cuts. So I kind of leveled things off a little bit, but I basically still kept the main crew. And I think a big thing for me was also my back end as well. So I have a director of operations that's in-house. And I even have a booking specialist that's in-house too. So that kind of helped. But then I think the biggest thing is that we've always had other different satellite businesses you know what I mean, to be able to kind of still, get business from other different areas too. You know what I mean? So I think that was a big thing for us as well. So a lot of different things, a big mouthful. So feel free if you want to, break that down a little bit.
No, so I really like a couple of things that you said in there in particular. So septic inspections, I've always pushed those. I remember we were some of the first companies that did septic inspections, in
Sure.
our area. And I remember the septic guys getting all mad at us and agents saying, oh, this is stupid. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, this is good. But yeah, $500. And it's not that long of an inspection. And everybody leaves you alone when you're staring at a hole full of poop, Yeah, so you get some alone time and you do your inspection and you get paid well. But a couple of key things that you put in there. First of all, you expanded your services. That I think is key. If we don't offer more ancillary services, we will never make more money. And I always made my money on, you call them technicians. I would still call them inspectors, but we had some guys, all they do is radon. All they do is septic. All they do is pool. Or they might do a combination of the two. It was also good because it would keep one person from leaving our company knowing how we do everything. Of course. Yeah. But the other thing is you scaled up. And I think that's the problem that a lot of us have as home inspectors is scaling our business. Were you nervous when you hired your first inspector?
Not really. So I've always had, it sounds a little crazy, but I've always had a director of operations. Like it was just a little bit different though. So like I had somebody that basically kind of like helped me from the onset. And as I grew, I paid her more. You know what I mean? So I was able to kind of find somebody who kind of came on early to where I could pay her like a minimal amount of money. And then as things grew, I paid her more. So she was helping me with my books, helping me with like, the HR side of things. So, for like workers' comp and things like that too. You know what I mean? So I had the back in there. And I think that's the other side of it too. So, for me, I always thought of this as a business, right? So a lot of inspectors don't think of themselves as a business owner. I'm a business owner first and I'm an inspector. That's why I'm able to create new businesses. You know what I mean? Where like, being able to even like having a business where I clean gutters or something like that, right? Like for me, I see the opportunity that I create a business around it. You know what I mean? So I think that's the difference is that like a lot of inspectors, they're just inspecting the house. They get the check, they leave. That's it. They're not really thinking about, okay, how do I scale? How do I hire? How do I fire? So I have SOPs for everything. You know what I mean? So I created that on the back end too. So even though like this year we kind of scaled back a little bit, when the market jumps open, if I want to scale up, I already have all the procedures, all the manuals already to be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Nice. And did you create all of those SOPs and manuals exactly yourself, or did you have a basis that you worked off?
Yeah, so I got some stuff from like Internachi. They had like a lot of good stuff there too. So I pulled some stuff there. We kind of tweaked things based on kind of the need. You know what I mean? And then like even for like payroll and different things we pay our contractors for, like subcontractors, we use like Gusto. You know what I mean? So everything's like direct deposit. You know what I mean? So I've tried to really streamline the back end of it. You know what I mean? While still being the face of it too. You know what I mean? And not being afraid to also go in different areas. You know what I mean? So like I'm actually like I'm licensed for not only mold, but I'm licensed for mold remediation. I don't do both or don't do two, but I wanted to get other license for more knowledge, and then we also have like, the asbestos inspector license. I'm looking at getting the lead license. So for me, I'm continuing to invest more money into continuing education, but also continuing to market hard too. I think a lot of people, what they do is they'll invest a lot of money into continuing education, but nobody knows them. Like when I went to home inspector school, there were like 30 guys there, right? For me, and now there's only like 2 left that's in business. So, because for me, the biggest thing about it is that you can know everything about a house, but if you don't know how to market yourself, then it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to talk to that point, a lot of guys are like, hey, they should know that I'm awesome. I'm like, listen, if you are that awesome, you're doing a disservice to them by not marketing yourself.
Exactly.
Because if you're that good, you should be able to advertise yourself so that they get the good inspector and not just some Joe Schmo. So that's awesome. So I remember the first time I hired an inspector, I think I sat nervously in a corner just watching my phone the first time they went off on their own. You didn't have any of that feeling. You were just like, hey, I'm good with this.
Yeah, most guys I hired were already licensed already, to be honest. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I met most of my guys from past inspection. So, like, to be honest with you, like, 3 of my inspectors that I've hired, they were licensed. There was only one person. Here's the weird thing, right? The weird thing is all 4 of them were licensed already. The weird thing is anybody who like wasn't licensed before, I put them through the training myself, the 100 inspections. a lot of them kind of washed out. But a lot of guys that I've hired before, they already had their license already. Like one guy, he worked for me for about 2 years, and I inspected his house, and he liked me so much that he got his own license and called me after and said, "Hey, I'm licensed now. Can I work for you?" So I feel like a lot of my kind of pull has been just being a good guy and doing good inspections, and then doing that. But I'm not afraid to train somebody either. You know what I mean? So we already have the protocols of training and stuff like that as well. And if I'm training somebody, it's going to be about 3 to 6 months for that turnaround time to really make sure that they know not only how to do the report, but how to speak, because that's a big thing. If you don't know how to talk to people and you can't communicate, then it's not really going to work. You know what I mean? Especially when you set the bar and you're everyone knows me, they know Kevin. They know that I'm going to do a good job at the inspection, but they have somebody else that shows up and he doesn't know how to communicate his findings. Then they're going to be like, why, where's Kevin? You know what I mean? So the bar is high already because I'm on a different level than most inspectors that I feel like. So I feel like I have to make sure that I'm really putting them through that training to communicate, effectively.
Yeah, and that's a true statement. That's why, unfortunately, some guys who talk really well or know how to communicate and market, but don't necessarily know about a house, can still do really well. Unfortunately, sure. We don't want to be an oven that is the best oven on the market, but there's no bread.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
We have to produce something. We need to be able to communicate that information. So that's awesome. So for anybody that's listening, it sounds like you got your inspectors kind of in a unique way, people, a past client, and people who were already licensed that you met through some different means. I did like how you mentioned that a lot of guys would wash out. And I think that's the problem that a lot of inspectors who are trying to scale up run into, is that you have to kiss a few frogs before you find a prince.
Exactly.
And I've had lots of guys wash out. I had a guy wash out. He didn't even show up for the first inspection. That seemed like he's like, I don't know, that seemed kind of hard. It's kind of far away. I'm like, dude, it's 25 minutes away. Just, what are you doing? So you're going to have a lot of that. And then when you find those gems, you're like, oh yeah, this is it.
I think also you can't be afraid to pay people, right? So, I have a different scale. You know what I mean? At one point I was paying one of my guys $39 an hour. You know what I mean? So I pay my guys hourly, and some people will say, oh, well, splits are better. This is better. Da, 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 da. For me, I do things a little differently. So I do an hourly rate. So one of my guys gets paid $34 an hour. I pay him for gas to go to the inspection. At the same time too, he's cross-trained to do chimneys and septics and sewers and all these different things, right? So then he'll get paid 2 hours if he does this, 2 hours if he does that. So he can walk away in 1 week if we're jumping, making $2,000 in a week or 2,500 or even $3,000. You know what I mean? So for me, it makes sense like that. And then as we're continuing to scale, I want to grow my guys too. So if I have a different business that maybe I'm starting or something like that, and he's proficient in it, I'm like, hey, we sit down, maybe we see if we can try to create an ownership piece into it as well. You know what I mean? So I can keep him invested in the business. You know what I mean? As we're growing,
Yeah, that works out as a business model really well, because now their success is your success and your success is theirs. So if they push the business forward and you push the business, as long as it's the right partner, it can work out really, really well. So let's talk about. So that's great. We peeled back that part of the onion. That's how you scaled up. I want to talk about your marketing since the market downturn and what you did. But before that, I want to talk a little bit more about other verticals or expanding a vertical. So we've had a lot of guys on this podcast that have expanded into other verticals. For instance, Dave Klima owns a radon mitigation company, and he also owns a pest company. I think those are two common verticals for inspectors to get into. I'm always about recurring revenue. That's really important. Radon mitigation, it's a dead stop industry. You install it and it's done. You might go back 10 or 15 years later to replace a fan. Okay. Whereas pest control, though,
you can contract.
Yeah, recurring. Have you thought about things like pest control?
Yeah, we thought about pest control. We actually started a pest business for a little bit, but the issue is that it's a little hard to break into that field just because you do have to work under somebody for a certain amount of time as an apprentice. Yeah. So we kind of stopped there, but we're looking at some new things now. So we're looking into window washing, house washing services, roof cleaning services. So we're looking into that. We're kind of in a lab right now, kind of creating those different things. And the good part about it is that when you're a home inspector, like you already have the client's information for the most part, you know what I mean? And a lot of times people after the inspection or even during the inspection, you'll mention, hey, you should get your carpets clean or your windows clean or your roof clean. You have a lot of moss here. And a lot of times, like, you could even opt them in, or like, they can opt themselves in rather to that service. You know what I mean? So after the inspection, after whatever the time frame is, to be able to do the service, you can reach back out to them. And that's something we're looking into. So I know like ADT had something where basically 45 days after the inspection, that's when they assume you're going to close. Then they'll reach out to you. You know what I mean? So we're kind of setting the framework up. So 45 days after the inspection, call them. Hey, are you guys before, we did an inspection on the house, we see there's a lot of moss in the roof. Are you interested in maybe us cleaning your roof or cleaning your windows or power washing? You know what I mean? So we're looking at those different services now and kind of building those different things out because we already have, the relationship with the client. So it makes sense to kind of build it out. And I think for what that does is, I think the main reason why also that I've been in business and I've been thriving, to be honest, is because we've built out all of our services already. So even on the inspection now, if we're not just doing home inspections, we have, I think I did like one like last week where we did the home inspection, we did the septic, we did the chimney, you know what I mean? We're doing all these different services. So I think for me, when I look at it, it's like this, and maybe not the best term, but you want to basically pick everything to the bone. You know what I mean? So you're providing the value, yes, because I still think it's value because again, they would have to still call the chimney guy, and a lot of chimney guys, no offense, but they might try to flag the chimney because they don't get paid to tell you the chimney looks good. I always tell people that. I said they don't get paid to tell you the chimney's good or the pool's good. They get paid, more often than not, to basically flag it. You know what I mean, and then write an estimate. So for us, we're still providing an independent and a non-biased assessment. You know what I mean? So for me, we can do way less home inspections, but if we're doing a home inspection in a septic, a radon, and if we're doing a mold, then we're doing 6 services on one house or 5 services on one house. And then, you know what I mean? The revenue is still up. You know what I mean? Like we didn't take that much of like we didn't have that big of a decrease. You know what I mean? Basically from like the years prior. Yeah, obviously we spent money with marketing and different things like that, different avenues, but like the numbers were to some extent around the same. You know what I mean? As far as for like gross profits from the banner year, you know what I mean? But we scaled up, and now every time when, my admin or my staff is trained for when they answer that phone, they pull up the house on Zillow and they're looking, okay, has a chimney, boom, has this, boom. So they're going down the whole list and they have all the scripts that I personally write myself to know what to say. You know what I mean?
So there's a lot of onion in that peel. So scripts, awesome. I love that. I'm all about the script. And I love the little diagrams that they say this and you do this. And it's not that hard. Just write it down. Process mapping is what it's called. But also just a gripe about chimney guys. I always had problems with chimney guys. I had this one guy came in during a home inspection. He didn't know I was there, and I could overhear him failing the chimney because it didn't meet, at the time, it was like 2018 building code. That municipality didn't enforce that code, first of all, and it was an 80-year-old house so I actually popped out and I tried to take him to the side, and I'm like, hey, that's an 80-year-old chimney. Are you gonna? He goes, it needs to be torn down. It doesn't.
He's trying to get paid.
He was trying to get paid. They got another chimney guy coming in, and he's like, no, this has been here for 80 years. This is how they built them. You don't tear down a chimney and rebuild it every time there's an update to the code. So that's a whole. But
I also think some inspectors too, they're scared to do new services. So it's like somebody in my market where I'll talk to different inspectors, and then they're like, oh, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm not doing septics. I'm not doing chimneys. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But it was good for me because, I had one the other day where the guy calls me. He had an inspector that he already had picked out. It was great, but it had a septic. The guy couldn't do septic, so he called us instead. We did the home inspection in the septic, knocked it out the park, and it was good. So I just think for what we're doing is we're trying to continue to gain more market share by providing more services and also providing good time frames and good reports. You know what I mean? So kind of keeping the main thing is inspection, but also still doing everything else within reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so there may be some listeners right now thinking that sounds too hustle culture-y, But here's the fact of the matter: there's mornings where we walk away with $1,200 for the inspection. And it's like, okay, you have to do 3 inspections that day to do what we did in the morning. We go have a leisurely lunch and then hit our next one for $1,200.
Exactly.
It's like, what did I provide less value? You're rushing through the day trying to catch up, making less money, and I'm spending my time doing a great inspection and getting the fee that we need to make. I'm like, what? It's not a hustle culture. It's a matter of value. It's giving people what they need and what they deserve and the time.
Well, what we do too is like, if I'm doing like the home inspection or if my guy's doing a home inspection, we don't do all together, for the most part, so if I'm doing the inspection, I'll do the inspection and then my guy will do the septic or my guy will do the sewer scope. My guy will do the chimney. I found that works out better as we get busier. It actually works better from a time perspective, especially because if he's running late to do the septic, that's okay because they don't really care because we're doing the inspection. Or if he's running late to do the chimney, doesn't really matter because if they say, where's your chimney guy? Oh, he's coming. You know what I mean? So now we're still doing the inspection. So it's a different time lapse there. So we can actually be that much better with our service. And he does a chimney report, he does a septic report, and together, in that group there, then we can do one report, So, it's a lot, but I think like for me, like you got to just try different things and see what works for you. You know what I mean? But that works for us. And, it allows us to do that much more volume and not basically, kill ourselves by doing like, 5 different services by myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's smart. That's why you have technicians. One thing I wanted to touch on, if you're listening and you're thinking offering services after an inspection might be against SOP, actually in New York State, I encourage you to look this up as of this podcast, and it has been like this for many years now, you can actually work on a home after close of escrow. So you can actually, so we're not talking about this, but you could, if you wanted to, replace the roof, replace the heating unit, refinish their floors, and, whatever work you want to do on the house after close of escrow. Before that, big no-no. So after they close on the house in New York State, it's legal. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about things that have to do with the home inspection. Mold is outside of the home inspection. Level 2 chimney inspection outside of a home inspection, according to our SOP. I love the roof washing idea, and I've actually seen that before. I won't say his name here, but there's a home inspector in our market that him and another inspector started a roof washing business, a soft roof washing business. Started it, used their data to basically drive the business, and then sold it to their guy that was running the business because he had recurring revenue. Because we live in an area where
a lot of trees.
You go up to and you go up to like Saratoga. There's millions and millions of dollars homes up there that they come there for 2 weeks and they want their roof cleaned every year. It's like, okay, here we go, recurring revenue, and they sold it for
of course.
So, yeah, window washing, same kind of thing. So, if I were buying a home, it's not illegal, it's not unethical. After close of escrow, somebody says, hey, if you'd like, if you enjoyed our inspection, would you like us to clean your windows and wash your roof? Cool. Oh, yeah, thanks. Why not?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I was going to say on the marketing topic, and another thing, too, is I can't give away all my secrets. But
don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't be afraid to expand your service area. A lot of people are afraid of that. We market that we'll go 2 hours out, right? Do we typically go 2 hours out? No, but, depending on the situation and the service, if it fits our schedule, we'll do it, because depending on where you're going, there's higher ticket houses in different areas. And some people, they don't do this. This is another thing that we've done as a business model. If the house is over a certain price point, we're going to charge more, for the house. It's more liability. We're going to spend more time there. I'm going to bring maybe multiple guys. We did a house in Lake George. It was $2.6 million. I had my whole team there. You know what I mean? We charged almost like it was like $3,000 to $4,000. I think we charged. You know what I mean? I think it was about $3,500 we charged for the inspection. You know what I mean? And that sounds crazy from an inspection standpoint, but again, like the clients had no problem paying for that inspection. Honestly, I showed up with like 4 guys there. You know what I mean? Including me, and all my guys are hourly. So yeah, that took a little bit of the profit, but I had the big margin there. You know what I mean? So we're not afraid to do houses that are $1 million, $2 million. You know what I mean? Obviously, you want to make sure your insurance policy does cover that. But at the same time, though, we're charging more. You know what I mean? Like, I don't walk in a house that's $1 million for less than $1,000, to be honest. You know what I mean? If not, maybe less than 15. You know what I mean? So that's just my model, what I do. And some people don't agree to that, but that's what I do. And maybe it doesn't work for everybody. but that's helped us a lot too, you know, from a price point standpoint.
So I think a lot of guys are afraid of having a higher price point, and I've done the same thing. I remember, I won't say which corporation it is. There's a president of one of the major real estate corporations in the U.S. and Canada, and he had a home over near Albany in a place called Loudonville, and he was like never there. Like we inspected it and it was empty. I'm like, dude, are you not here? Or he's like, no, we come here like every couple of years. I'm like, oh, it's like my 20th house. I don't know, but it was several $1 million, and you know what? We had, I think there was 3 of us, but I was looking at the water heater, and it was a really fancy water heater. I'm like, this water heater, just this one, they had 2 of them, cost more than my vehicle. I'm like, I had to look it up, and we're like, man, you got to charge for that, you know? Yeah. you got to charge for that kind of stuff. So that's very important. And I want to hear though, because you want to talk about marketing a little bit too here. What are some marketing things that you've done, and not telling us your secrets, but some things that you've done that might help guys get through the last leg of this?
I think social media is a big thing, right? You know, so social media is huge. You can't be afraid to post on social media. I post 4 times a day, and I have multiple different pages that I'm on. You know what I mean? Like different profiles. So I have like a main page, another page, a business page, this page, So I'm consistent. I never miss any day. So I post every single day on social media. And I even have, you know, basically a social media person help me. But like, I don't post generic stuff. I post funny stuff. I post good stuff, post good content, stuff that maybe even be a little risky. But I get crazy engagement from agents. You know what I mean? So like, I think the thing about it is some people just post articles. They just post whatever. I post things that's engaging, things that's funny, things that's inspection related, things that's not inspection related. You know what I mean? So I think for me, like that's something that I'm not afraid to do. At the same time too, on the marketing side, I'm not afraid to, you know, either I'm going to events or I'm sending my guys to different events. So I'm regularly pulling up different events that are happening in the area. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big event person. Like I'm high energy, but I'm a more of an intimate circle type of guy. So I'm a one-on-one type of guy, getting coffee or maybe like, you know, getting breakfast with somebody, or speaking at an office. But I'm not really good for real estate events. But one of my guys is. So I sent him there, and we still do get that traction. You know what I mean? But I think for what it's worth, you can't be afraid to spend money when it comes to marketing. But again, I'm not really heavy on Google marketing anymore. I just think it's overpriced these days. You know what I mean? For ad spend. So I'm heavy.
Oh, you're talking the PPC stuff? Yeah,
I don't do much of that. Yeah. I spend most of my money on more like word of mouth / like relationship building marketing. And that's how we've been successful. And I have like, you know, in my system, I mark what agents VIP, what agents kind of like not say regular, but I have different agents marked on my system. So I make sure that like they're getting very good treatment depending on, you know, how much revenue they're bringing us. You know what I mean? And, you know, again, we're going to continue to give good treatment to everybody. But like, again, maybe we might not make it out last second for maybe an agent who's only used us maybe 1 time. But if an agent's using us 10 times, then we're going to, you know, put a lot of effort into that agent too. But I just think that home inspectors can't be afraid to market on social media and market consistently. You know, some people, they just post once every couple of days or, hey, you need an inspection? I don't ask for inspections on social media. I post things that are engaging, that are funny. And, you know, I might jump in their inbox and say, hey, how you doing? When maybe they have something on the contract. But like, I'm not like, for me, I feel like you're going to attract more bees with honey than you are going to attract them with the other stuff. So the honey to me is funny stuff that's engaging. And as you laugh at my posts, you're going to want to come back more and engage with me more. And, you know, you want to do business with people who you know, like, and trust. You're going to know me, like me, and trust me from social media. You know what I mean? And then you meet me on inspection. Oh, yeah, there's a funny guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a matter of it's a marketing principle that's been around for thousands of years. You're going to refer people that you like. So there you go. So what platforms do you find most effective for yourself?
I would say Facebook, social media, to be honest. Like, I think, like, you know, Facebook's big. Instagram's big, too. You know, you get a lot of people that look at your stories and things like that, like on, like, you know, social media. But for some reason, agents really gravitate to Facebook. I'm on everything, like LinkedIn, too. We post every platform just because, like, I might get 3 likes for a post on LinkedIn, 10 likes for something on Instagram, and I might get 100 likes on Facebook. But again, I want to basically continue to have that spiral going. And, I'm doing it consistently. You know what I mean? So while other inspectors are busy and they're not paying attention to that, if I don't do it, again, like I said, like I curate the content, but I have somebody that's doing it every day. So we're not going to miss. And I'm doing videos now too, while I'm just sitting in the car. I'm in the car waiting before inspection. I just have a random topic in my head. Hey, you should definitely think about maybe getting a sewer scope inspection. Here's the reason why. 60 seconds. You know what I mean? So I just think that's the biggest thing is that, like, especially with this market kind of taking a dip, it is going to pull back. I watch your videos too, or you're listening to your podcasts. But at the same time, for me, like, I feel like whether it's busy, whether it's slow, I want to market no matter how busy I am, no matter how slow I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually just watched one of your videos this morning. I think it was on sewer scopes. Yeah. But they call them car talk videos or whatever they are. Basically, you're just in your vehicle with a phone, and it doesn't take that long to do. And especially with the amount of time we spend in a vehicle.
Yeah.
A lot of times it can be done. Hey, you showed up early, you did the outside of the house, and you're waiting for the agent to show up to let you in. Do a quick video, say, hey, what about when it's cold outside?
You'd be surprised.
What happens if there's snow on the roof?
Even like for the reel, like so on Reels, you can post on Facebook, but they have Reels too. We did a reel of my inspector, Scott. He was doing a septic. It got like 6,000 views, on the reel. You know what I mean? I don't know who's seeing it, but at the same time, there's visibility there, visibility on the stories. You know what I mean? So I just think that, instead of complaining, because a lot of inspectors, in my market, a lot of times they complain it's too slow or, like they just say crazy stuff just because they're just justifying the fact that maybe they're not getting business. That's why I'm not gonna lie. I don't really do a lot of like connecting with a lot of inspectors in our market just because a lot of them could be Debbie Downers. I'll say, I'm doing septic. Oh, there's too much liability in septics, or there's this or the third. Okay, that's fine, man. You don't have to do it. Send me the septics then. Send me the chimneys. Send me everything,
I've always heard, again, we're in the same market, so I've heard the same things about, going back to the septic thing, there's too much liability in septic systems.
I haven't got one complaint yet.
Whoa. Yeah, first of all, it doesn't happen very often, a complaint if ever. But, like, I inspected a house, and it was a $70,000 roof defect.
Sure.
It's like, okay, so that's just the roof of this particular house. How bad of a mistake are you going to make on the septic system that is going to cost $70,000?
That's true.
There's way less liability. So at the worst, complete brand new system, you just completely boobed the whole thing up. You didn't find anything. They replaced the whole thing, and it's $30,000 for a raised bed system. That's still less than most roofs in our area.
I just think a lot of people, they use things as excuses to not do things. So they'll say liability. Yeah. But again, that's what insurance is for. You know what I mean? And again, not to say you want to charge insurance. I've only been sued one time, and it was for a roof, and I won. So
I've never. So I've been in business for almost 20 years. I've never been sued. So we like to talk about the boogeyman under the bed. When you finally check under the bed, you're kind of like, oh, all right. But still, when we lay in bed at night, there's the boogeyman, in our dreams. So boogeyman is always going to be a liability. It's a matter of, like you said, be qualified, get all the training, practice, go have an SOP, do the whole kit and caboodle, become awesome at it. And if you are awesome in doing your job, the likelihood of you missing something is very low. And it's like, okay, it's a septic system. We're looking at let's dumb this down a little bit. It's a hole with poop in it. Is the poop going out to the yard properly? Well, the poop shouldn't go out to the yard, but you know what I mean. Yeah. But it's a matter of getting outside of our own heads. So let me ask you though, what are your plans for this coming year for marketing? What's going to be your biggest strategy besides social media?
Besides social media, I think just trying to be more in front of agents, right? So we're trying to go to more open houses this year, and basically like make that more of not just like a thing that you do every now and then, but making that a regiment. You know what I mean? So we have basically somebody who's set to, visit offices and basically go to open houses. You know what I mean? And doing that. So it's basically every Saturday, every Sunday, we're doing that. You know what I mean? We're getting those connections, we're building those relationships, and then going to more events. You know what I mean? So I think basically kind of like blending the two, blending social media with also blending the in-person connection. You know what I mean? That's really the goal for us. Yeah. And, I think we're off to a good start. We've already been to about 3 events. We're going to another 3 events where we've gone to 12 open houses. So I just think just more boots on the ground approach, and not being afraid to do that and not being afraid to allocate spend to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny. We're actually releasing a podcast, a short one, on how to properly visit open houses.
Yeah.
I've always hated that. I even say it in the podcast. I hated them, but they're effective. Marketing has not changed in our industry much in the past 40 years. It's
Sure.
basically the same. Visit offices, open houses, events. The one thing that's different is social media, and they are interconnected. They really are. They need to be part of the environment that you create. But I tell you what, Kevin, you have created quite the environment for you and your clients and the agents that refer you. You're stiff competition, man. I like it, though.
Hey, yeah, I appreciate it.
Good job.
And like I said, I love the podcast, man. I learned a lot from you guys.
Well, we've all learned a lot from you today here, too. If anything, my big takeaway from our discussion is don't be scared, be qualified, and do it. And that's like, it sounds like that's like half your marketing plan, and it's working for you. So great job. Thank you so much for being on the show, Kevin. We'll talk soon.